What is up, YouTube family? It is your girl GC the Trader, and we are back with another video, gang. How have y'all been? It's been a minute. I believe my last video was 2 weeks ago. A lot's been going on, y'all. I still been trading. Still been trading. That's a every single day thing. Whether it's a weekend, I'm on the chart. So I've still been grinding. I still been getting at it. But I had to get settled in. I had to, change some locations and different things like that. So now your girl is back. She's better. And I'm going to be able to break down the trades that I not only took this week, but I'm also going to be going over the trades that I took last week. So this video may be a little longer than my other videos, only because this is going to be 2 weeks worth of trades that I'm going to be going over. So yeah, y'all have me a little longer for today. So I hope y'all ready. I'm not going to take up too much of y'all time on this Saturday. It is February 21st. So yeah, you guys, let's get to it. Okay, y'all, let's get to it. Okay, as you can see, my chart is on micro S&P, micro ES. That was the first trade that I caught on Monday, and these set of trades is going to be from Monday, February 9th to Friday, February 13th, you guys. So coming into the session, I marked up my 8 to 8:15 zone. In the process of doing that, I noticed that London had an intraday high and a intraday low. Right, I'll probably say how many minutes? About, yeah, this was 30-minute candle. So 30 minutes after the New York open, when the market opened up, price took out that intraday low but failed to take out my London low. So that was signification of me that price failed to sweep liquidity and that it was reversing. In this case, I thought it was only reversing to give me a zone tap, but in all actuality, it was reversing to take out that intraday high after it had took out that intraday low. And after that, yeah, that's all she wrote. I ended up losing the trade immediately. Probably like, let me look at my notes. Not necessarily immediately. 3 minutes. So within 3 minutes of me entering the trade, I did take a full loss on this, you guys. I even had marked up, where I was gonna close off two contracts, where I was gonna take, where I was gonna close out my full and everything else like that. I'm not going to necessarily say that this was a bad trade because everything was going good as far as sell territories. But I feel like my mistake with this trade was I didn't better read what market was doing. When market took out that intraday low and failed to take out that London high, I should have known that price was reversing, not just to give me a zone tap, but reversing indefinitely to take out that London high. You get what I'm saying? So normally when price fails to take out that session's low, it goes back up to take out that session's high, or vice versa. If it takes out the session low, if it doesn't take out the session low, then it'll reverse and take out the session high. So yeah, I had a bit of a bias with this trade. So yeah, it was Monday, so I only decided to take one trade. I could have hopped back in, you guys, and did a zone tap up here and took it to the top, but I decided to walk away. And yeah, I'm gonna put my P&L right here for this trade in the corner. So yeah, you guys, this was Monday, February 9th trade. I took an L of $97.35, you guys. So the next trade, it was still on the 9th, but it was during Asian session on gold, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna come over here to my gold chart. Sorry, you guys, this mouse be sticking sometimes. All right. So what time was it? So I can get the exact time of which I took this trade. This happened at 6:30. All right. All right, you guys. This is the trade that I took on gold on the 9th during the Asian session. So just to give y'all a heads up, I did trade both of my funded accounts last week and this week. I have two funded accounts with the same prop firm, one for 150,000, one for 50,000. So during the New York sessions, I trade my 150,000 only because I can risk a little bit more because it's more volatility during the New York session. And then on my $50,000 account, I trade gold, and I trade there during the Asian session because a little bit more volume. On $50,000 account, you really don't have that much capital. You only have 2,000, so I'm deciding to use that account to trade Asian gold. And this was a supply setup with ICC Confluence. So if I'm not mistaken, let me go. It was something price had taken out. Wow, here it goes. Okay. I had my as you can see, well, not as you can see, I had my London high marked up for this trade when I came in, and price had broke through it, indicated, came back down, it corrected. Once it failed to rise past a certain point, I had my EMAs. They was all above price. Um, if I'm not mistaken, where was the supply? I think it was on. I think I took this trade on the 1 minute, you guys. So let me go down here. Yeah, because I took this on the 1 minute, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 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 yes. All right. It was either the 1 minute or the 3 minute. I believe it was the 3 minute. Let me see. So I can get the proper markups. There we go. So it was the 3 minute that I took this trade on. I had this zone right here marked up. Price gave me, didn't break structure, but it gave a minor push to the downside. My EMAs was all above, so to me that was a signification of we were selling. So I had my whatchamacallit, I had my TP at that wick where price decided it wanted to retrace and come back up. That's where price told me that it wanted to go, so that's where I ended up putting my stop loss. And yeah, price did amazing. It gave me a push. I was marking up other supply zone as price was dropping in price. So each time price respected one of my supply zones, I adjusted my stop loss to the top of that zone. This trade actually did a very good job. If I'm not mistaken, I think I was going for how much? Yeah, about 400 and something dollars. Price ended up pushing till about 250, and then after it pushed to about 250, it ended up retracing back up. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, my stop loss was like right here. And yeah, I ended up walking away at this trade at break even. I was probably like $1 after taxes and shit, like 80 cents in profit. So yeah, this trade was a break even. I'm not gonna say that I was being too greedy because price literally showed me that's where it wanted to go. But because I only went in on this trade on one contract, because on my $50,000 account I only can use one contract, I didn't have the luxury of closing out contracts as price. I didn't have the luxury of paying myself as price was paying me. You know what I'm saying? Normally I would have closed out a few contracts, especially we had hit my 1 to 1.5. So I think we was, pardon me, not even my 1 to 1.5. I think we hit my 1 to 2.5. So yeah, I was risking $100 and price ended up going to like 250. So yeah, it gave me my 1 to 2. So yeah, I guess you could say I was probably being a little bit greedy, um, especially when the Asian session started and price immediately just took out that New York low. Once it took off that New York low, that should have been enough signification for me that price is going to reverse. You get what I'm saying? And that's exactly what it did for a little bit. Yeah, just pretty much after that push down, it just consolidated the rest of the session. So I end up taking a break even on this trade. So yeah, I'm gonna put my P&L over here, you guys. So yeah, this was my trade on gold for Monday, the 9th. All right, you guys, this next trade happened on February 12th. That was a Thursday. Um, Back on the micro S&P on my $150,000 account. This is on my 1 minute time frame. I don't know if y'all remember in past videos I said on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I Those are the days I take more than two trades, well, more than one trade. If my first setup loses, I'll take another setup. If my first setup wins, then I'm done for the day. So, yeah, coming into the session, I noticed that price did a minor break to the downside, then did a full break to the upside, and then we consolidated above my zone long into the New York Open and on into the market open. I did miss this setup right here. Honest and truly, I thought price will give me a midpoint tap, because if you come back this way, as you can see, price was respecting my midpoint. I even had a midpoint respect right here before price broke up to the upside. But one thing I can say that I did not notice until after I had already missed the trade was that after the New York Open, price was showing me that, okay, I know I was respecting the midpoint, but now I'm only respecting the beginning of this zone. So going into this was signification of it's not going to be a midpoint tap. When we get this midpoint tap, it is going to invalidate that we're getting the beginning of the zone tap. So y'all, if I would have went in for the beginning of the zone tap, especially once I got these 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 candle closes above that zone, which is pretty much like almost a 5 minute candle. That was a major rejection, especially when price rejected 1, 2, 3 times right here before it even touched the zone. Rejected twice and then rejected 4 more times. So I ended up ignoring that because I was still honest and truly hoping for a midpoint tap. So let me line this up for y'all so y'all can see how this trade would have played out. Go ahead and fix this. When this move was happening, I was a little upset because I was like, man, I'm so used to, price hitting my midpoint that not all the time was I prepared for when price hit that. You get what I'm saying? When it hit the beginning of the zone. So honestly and truly, I would have been going in risking 20 ticks on 3 contracts. Now for this strategy, it is a 1 to 3. So my 1 to 3 would have been at 60, and as you can see, it wouldn't have played out. But if I was trading minis, which for minis, 16 ticks is $200, and then 48 ticks would be my 3 to 1, which would be about $600. So if I was trading minis on this trade, it would have played out. Did an amazing break and retest to the upside right before that 9:30 open. But I was not trading minis, I was trading micros, and I ended up missing that move, so I did not take that move. So I could have did a retest to the downside, which is what most people would have done, but I was still under the oppression that when price breaks through my zone is now invalidated. But from watching price over the last few days and few weeks, that when price breaks through my zone to invalidating, it's just invalidating it for the bias I had. So I had a buy bias. So when price came to invalidate my zone, it was just telling me that, hey, the buy bias is no longer in. So I could have profited it from a break to retest to the downside. Price came to retest my midpoint 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and could have went in on the same. As far as minis, I think for micros it still wouldn't have worked out. So I waited Normally, and then sometimes, normally when price breaks through your zone to invalidate it, it'll go right back up. So I didn't know if this was going to be the case of it going right back up, because as you can see, we do have a supply zone right up here with multiple gaps that price did need to fill. So honestly, I wasn't really comfortable in doing a break and retest to the downside, especially with the amount of gaps that price had to go up and fill. So I did not take that break and retest to the downside. I waited for price to give me a supply setup and respect the supply setup. Once price gave me um, once price respected that supply zone, I waited for price to give me another supply zone, and I waited for price to respect that. I had a break to the downside. Price to came to retest it. I entered at the break of the candle, and as you can see, price did do a good push, but it didn't do the push I wanted it to do, and it ended up coming up and stopping me out of the trade. And if I'm not mistaken, on that trade, I believe it was 3 contracts that I was risking, all of for 25 ticks. So that loss ended up being like $93.75. Like that's how much that loss was. And honest and truly, I switched my bias. This loss was really uncalled for. Kind of got caught up in the trick. Got caught up in the trap. So yeah, once price gave me this move, it was failing to make a lower low. It gave me a supply zone and respected it. So I mean a demand zone. When I saw respecting that demand zone, I marked up the next demand zone that broke structure, and as you can see, it broke structure. This was the highest price had went since that supply had failed. So once it broke that structure, I waited for the retest. Once price broke my retest candle, I did enter. If I'm not mistaken, I was going in risking the same thing, but for some reason on my PropFirm, when I re-entered, instead of it re-entering me on 3 contracts, it only re-entered me on 1 contract. So I end up taking a full loss, and I think that loss ended up being like $36.20. And yeah, that's because it was only 1 contract. But if I would have went in 3 contracts, it probably would have been like over $180 loss for this session for today. So yeah, I definitely got caught up in the trick for this trade. I should have just kept my original bias that I had, because as you can see, price gave me a supply zone up here. It invalidated it, but it did bounce back into this supply zone up here that price had previously retested in the earlier session. So I should have just waited for price to correct itself and give me back the sales that I was looking for. And as you can see, I think this was the day where yeah, S&P just went stupid. Like as you can see, drop, drop, drop. So I know a few people who made an amazing bag on this trade. So yeah, y'all, this was on Thursday. We took 2 L's. I'm gonna put my P&L right here for the trade, so you can see the actual amount, and you can see that I actually took these trades live, you guys. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's it for the trades that took place from the 9th to the 13th. I didn't trade on Friday the 13th. I wanted to, but I had other responsibilities I had to do, so I could not trade on the 13th, which I know a few people who made some money. So yeah, if you were one of those people, congratulations. All right, let's start at the next set of trades, you guys. I don't believe I caught a setup on Monday. I think my next setup was on Tuesday the 17th. Yep, at 9:30. Let's go to it. All right, you guys, it's Tuesday. You know, I already told you on Tuesdays that hey, I take 2 trades. So this is what happened on Tuesday, you guys. I did not go in on break and retest for this trade. I ended up doing a supply and demand, and I'm going to explain to y'all why I did not do the break and retest. I'm just gonna show y'all. I had it marked up on my chart, but I deleted it for more space. So coming in, this is my 8 candle. Marked it up. Then I'm gonna go back down to my 1 minute so y'all can see what price did as to why I did not want to take this trade on break and retest. All right. This was the zone I had marked up. As you can see, it's quite a big zone, so I wasn't really all right with taking breaking retests on the zone that was this big. It was giving me all the confirmation that we were buying, that hey, we was either gonna do a retest to the beginning of the zone rather to the mid of the zone. But at that market open, after price had consolidated after the New York open, price just shot up and took out that London low. I mean that London high. Once price took out that London high, I honestly thought that we were in buy territory because all of my EMAs was way underneath the price. So nothing was really telling me to sell until I saw these rejections here. I saw these rejections after I lost the trade, and I was like, man, that's crazy because yeah, price was showing me that hey, I don't want to go any higher than this, so I should have, looked at that more clearly as to yeah, price could be about to get ready to reverse on me, especially when price take out a key level. Sometimes price continues, sometimes price doesn't, and in this case, price did not want to continue after it took out that London high. So yeah, price gave me a little back and forth action. I was in profit for a little bit, but as you can see, price ended up coming down and invalidating not only my trade but my zone that I had marked up. So I ended up taking an L on this trade. I think it was like I went in on 3 contracts, and if I'm not mistaken, this loss was like $153 loss on this trade. So, y'all, I've also been practicing flip zones, and basically, a flip zone is like if you have a supply or a demand zone marked up, and price breaks through that the zone. Instead of you deleting that zone, you keep that zone up, and you wait for price to give you the opposite signal of that zone. So, if you was going in for buys, you wait for price to invalidate that zone for sales, and then once price retests that zone and drops back down, then you enter in for a sale, and vice versa. If you were selling and price comes up and invalidates it, you wait for price to break back down and tap it, and you go in for a buy. So it's basically like a supply zone turning demand, a demand zone turning supply. So that's what I saw. I had been practicing it, back testing it for a while, because I've noticed, with certain pairs, a lot of the times price will invalidate your zone just to use it the opposite way. And I know most people, I think y'all don't use the term flip zone. Y'all may use block breakers. I think that's what it's called, block breaker or breaker block, one of those. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to catch the trade to the downside. I'm going to make back my money. I was ready. You guys, I was so upset this day only because when I first got my $150,000 account, I was only trading micros. I only wanted to trade micros. So I told myself trading micros, I feel like a $250 loss is a good amount, to lose and then go ahead and lock your account up for the day, without going too crazy. Because with the $150,000 account, you got $4,500 you can lose before you lose the account. So I was like, okay, 250 is a good amount, like 125 risk every trade. I was like, all right, cool, I could do that. Y'all, I went into this trade not knowing that I still had that daily loss set. Y'all, I think I was risking the same amount, $150. I had already lost 153. Price ended up going into drawdown like 110 ticks, and then dropped, as you can see, dropped down straight to my TP. Y'all, when price hit that 111 mark in drawdown, it knocked me out of my trade. And I tried to re-enter the trade, and it kept saying error, error, error. And I was like, what is going on? So I reached out to the people of my PropFirm and told them what was going on, and they was like, all right, I'm going to look into it from our end. And they got back to me and said, you have a $250 daily loss limit set on the account. I wanted to fucking beat my own ass, you guys. Because it's like, bro, I would have made back this trade. I would have made back my loss. I was going in on 3 contracts. 3 contracts. It was going to be 100. It was going to be 100 tick stop loss for those 3 contracts. So I would have made back my money plus some, you guys. Like, I was very, 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 very irritated with myself when that happened, because it's just like it's nothing worse than losing on a winning trade after you've already taken a loss. You get what I'm saying? Like, and I'm cool with losing if I had the wrong bias. I'm cool with losing, hey, if I just made a mistake. But it was just like in this case, it really bothered me. But it just shows that you got to be more aware of the restrictions and limits that you put on yourself in the beginning. And I wasn't aware. I forgot I set that limit. And yes, technically, that was a rule of mine and I did follow it. But in that moment, that was probably like 4 months after I had already got the account. So I'm a little bit okay with risking more money. So in the beginning, yeah, I was capped out at losing 250. Now I don't mind losing a little bit more than that in the same day. You get what I'm saying? So it's just like that was on me for not properly checking my account and also remembering the restrictions that I gave myself, you guys. So yeah, we took 2 L's on this day. The L total ended up being $265, you guys. So yeah, it took me a while to really get over this. I had to go take several walks. But yeah, you guys, that was the 17th trade. The next trade I believe was on the 18th. So let's go to the 18th. All right. And if I'm not mistaken, I didn't do break and retest again. This trade was supply and demand, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to show y'all why I did not do the break and retest. All right, let me go here. Got my zone right here, pretty small zone. So it was a pretty small zone for the break and retest. So that's not why I didn't trade, because it was too big of a zone. But let me go down to my 1 minute, which is normally my entry, so y'all can see why. All right, coming into I had everything marked up. I did not trade this trade only because price had invalidated. Well, price had pushed to the upside of my zone and pushed to the downside of my zone. So it was just showing me that it did not know exactly where it wanted to go. It consolidated under my zone after that New York Open at 9:30. Price came and pushed past what was that London low. Price had broke past that London low, came up, consolidated it a little bit, and then broke past that London low again. So coming into this trade, once I saw price took out a low, I was like, okay, it took out that low. I don't know if price is going to respect my break and retest zone. Normally when price takes out key levels before it gives you that retest, it normally invalidates that zone. Sometimes it keeps it in play, but most of the times when price takes out key levels for break and retest, it's not coming back to retest the zone. It's going to invalidate it. And price came, it gave a retest to the midpoint, it dropped down. I was a little upset because I was like, oh my gosh, I missed the trade opportunity. But coming into this trade, I was trading micros. So by me trading micros, you guys, even if I would have entered at that mark, yeah. Oh yeah, it did. Yeah, this was the trade that I kind of kicked myself in. Yes, this was the trade. Okay, yeah, this was the trade that I kind of kicked myself on, but because of what I'm so used to price doing in the past, taking out key levels and then invalidating my zone, I did not take this trade, as I stated before, due to that reason. But this was the trade where, okay, price said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take out a key level, I'm going to retest the zone, and then I'm going to invalidate the zone. So, yeah, this was the day that I ended up missing the break and retest trade that played out beautifully. Yeah, I was going in. I would have went in on 3 contracts, but I ended up missing that trade opportunity. So once price took out that London high, I just waited to see if price would reject off of it and start selling again, or if it was going to continue. But because price had no other key levels that it needed to take out, price decided that it wanted to continue to the upside. So I had my 1 minute zone. I waited for price to break, give me a tap, and then break. I believe I took this trade on my 3 minute, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go to it just to make sure. Yep, I took this trade on my 3 minute chart. I had this zone marked up. Price gave me a retest, and then it gave me a morning star. So when it gave me that morning star, that was enough confirmation that we're gonna buy. I entered on the break of my most recent tap candle. How much was I going for? I was going for 120 ticks. I'm not gonna say greedy, but I was being kind of, yeah, because it was a key level that I had marked up there. So as you can see, I'm not gonna say this was a bad trade. This was a good trade. The only reason why I say this was a good trade is because immediately when I entered, price stayed above my entry point. It never went into my drawdown. So it was a signification that it was buyers there, but it was also sellers there as well. So it was the same amount of buyers and same amount of sellers as to why we couldn't get price to push past a certain point. And by that time, once price was doing all this, I decided to move my stop loss to break even. And as you can see, price stopped me out, gave another push, and then boom. And then after that, price just dropped the rest of the session, you guys. So yeah, I believe for this trade, I ended up getting stopped out at break even, which I had my stop loss like $10 in profit, and after fees of like $2.40, I end up walking away with $7.60 on this trade on break even, you guys. So yeah, that was Wednesday's trade on the 18th. I also traded gold on the 18th as well, during my Asian session. Let me see when I took that trade. So that trade was around 7. I actually got into the trade at like 19. I mean, at like 8:50 something. So let's see how this played out. Yeah, we end up being able to secure quite a bit of profits on this trade. Not as much as I wanted to, but yeah. So coming into this trade, once I saw that, at that Asian Open, price failed to take out that New York low, I waited to see if price was going to give confirmation for buys, but it never pushed past. It never made me a higher high. So because it never made me a higher high, I wasn't even worrying about buys anymore. I was just waiting for price to give me a supply zone and respect it. I got my supply zone. I got my push. It did not break structure, but it did a minor break of structure. It came to retest my zone, and I entered on the break of my retest candle. I could have entered after this one, but I did want more sell confirmations, so I waited to see if price would reject off of that 13 EMA, and it did. And once I got that rejection, I did enter into the trade. I used the supply zones within this trade to adjust my stop loss. Price gave me this supply zone, respected it, moved my stop loss right here. Price gave me this supply zone, respected it, I moved my stop loss here. Then price gave me this supply zone, it respected it, so I moved my stop loss here. But I did have this marked up because I saw that price did not want to sell past this point. So I really thought that, yes, price was building liquidity, but I really thought price was going to at least break to the downside a little bit just to knock out those buyers that was right there. But it was too many buyers right there, and as you can see, price eventually reversed and stopped me out. And I believe I was stopped out at like $80. Yeah, I had my stop loss at $80. I was risking 100. So anytime, even if I make money on a trade, if I make less than what I was risking, I consider that break. I consider that break even. So because I was risking 100, and I only ended up being able to profit $80. That's still considered break even to me because I did not make more than I was risking on the trade. Now, if I would have hit my 1-to-1, then I would have considered that a win, and I would have said I won at a 1-to-1. But I ended up making some profits at break even. So yeah, that kind of knocked out a little bit of the loss we had from last week. Yeah, through the losses that we had from last week, I was able to knock a little bit of that out with this break even trade on gold. So yeah, gold definitely brought in some profits for me this week after a loss, you guys. So yeah, I'm gonna put my P&L right here on this trade so you can see that. And I believe the next trade I took, you guys, was on micro micro S&P, and that was on the 19th, you guys. So let's go to that. Okay, this was a break and retest sale. Okay, so bring these in so y'all can see. And then I'm gonna bring it up on the 1 minute so y'all can see a little better as far as the taps of my zone. So coming into the session, I had my zone marked up. I noticed price respecting my midpoint several times, and then I noticed price respecting the beginning of my zone. So because I saw price respecting my midpoint and the beginning of my zone, I went with the last thing price was respecting before that New York market opened. So I noticed price had been respecting the midpoint, respected the midpoint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times before that 9:30 open. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to enter at the midpoint instead of enter at the beginning instead of entering at the midpoint. Even though I got a midpoint tap, I did enter right here, you guys. And hey, price did great. Price gave me a minor push. If I'm not mistaken, it gave me my 1-to-1 and some. But yeah, I did not adjust my stop loss. Even once price gave me my pullback and pushed down lower, I don't know why I didn't adjust my stop loss to break even. I guess I wanted to give the trade a little bit more wiggle room because I was risking, what was it? Let me make sure because I know exactly where my stop loss was at before I adjusted it. I think it was at 35 ticks. It was like right here if I'm not mistaken. But when price gave me this push and then came back up and then pushed again, I ended up adjusting my stop loss to about 19 ticks. So I didn't necessarily take a full loss, you guys, but I shouldn't have took a loss at all. I should have had my trade at break even, especially when I saw price had broke through this London low and then it failed to break through the London low again. That's definitely when I should have adjusted my stop loss to break even, but I didn't, and I allowed a winning trade to lose, you guys. So yeah, I rather have walked away on break even on this trade than walking away with a loss. And it was only a loss of about $78. Not $78. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong one, you guys. Of $71. Yeah, $74. That's how much I lost on this trade, you guys. So I still kept my same bias. I was still confident that we were selling. So I waited for price to give me another opportunity. I did not trust the break and retest to the upside. If you traded minis, you probably did make some money off of that. So I was waiting for price to give me a supply zone and respect it. I did kind of jump the gun with this zone, as you can see. Price did give me a break to the downside. It gave me a tap, and once price gave me a bearish candle and broke through my tap zone, I did enter, but this was just a bad trade. Just straight consolidation in my drawdown. The only time I got a little bit of push in my green was right before price decided to stop me out, you guys. So yeah, this just wasn't a good trade. Yeah, just straight consolidation in red, no push to my green at all. So this just wasn't a good trade at all. You guys should have waited for more confirmation. Should have waited after this consolidation because price did sell off. It just did not sell off when I wanted it to sell off, you guys. So I took two L's on Thursday the 19th, and yeah, that L, the second L on that trade was for, let me see, $180. That's what that trade was for. That trade was for $180, and it shouldn't even been that much because I went in risking 150, which was 40 ticks on 3 contracts. So I was actually risking $150, but I ended up moving my stop loss. So I ended up losing more than I was supposed to. So yeah, this was just a dumb trade because I didn't want to accept that, hey, it wasn't playing out after I took a loss. Because honest and truly, I was supposed to have been stopped out right here. When price did this right here, like right here, I was supposed to have been stopped out. But I moved my stop loss all the way up here. You feel me? And price just kept. So actually, my stop loss was moved to like $200 and something in the red, and then price just kept consolidating, and then I ended up moving it down to 180. And then when price gave me this, instead of moving it closer, even hurry up and putting it at break even, I still took a full loss, which was dumb, you guys. So yeah, this was a pointless loss after a justified loss. But even then, I feel like this shouldn't have been a loser because I should have adjusted my stop loss. So yeah, you guys, this was Thursday. This was the L's that we took on Thursday, you guys. I'm gonna put my P&L right over here so y'all can see. I put the P&L for both of them right over here so y'all can see. All right, you guys, I did trade again on the 19th, but I traded my $50,000 count during Asian session on gold. So let's go to the 19th. At what time did I take this trade? 6:20. So let's see. All right. Okay, you guys. So coming into this Asian session on gold, I noticed that gold was in a consolidation after that Asian open. Once it broke out of that consolidation, if I'm not mistaken, I did have it marked up like this. And once it broke out of that consolidation, to my downside, I saw that I had a supply zone that did break structure. So we had a supply zone that broke structure. It came back and gave me a retest. I waited for price to give me a nice amount of break confirmation to the downside before I entered. I did not want to jump the gun. And as you can see, you guys, yeah, price did give me a minor push, but yep, we ended up taking a loss on this trade. The loss was $97. I didn't take the full loss of 100. I ended up taking myself out of the trade once I seen price doing this. I went ahead and decided to take myself out of the trade, you guys. So I still like this setup. I still would take this setup on any day. I wasn't necessarily caring about my EMAs being crossed up the way they were. The only thing I was a little concerned about was my 200, but I wasn't really concerned about my 13 and 50 being crossed up because that's normally signification of the trend is about to get ready to change. And because we had no trend and it crossed, I honestly thought that that was the trend change into sales that I was looking for. So I waited for my retest, and yeah, that was just all she wrote. Price ended up reversing and taking me out. And it did not sell the rest of the session. The session was a buy bias. You get what I'm saying? But even after this push, price was just very choppy. You know what I'm saying? They didn't give you I mean, you could have got in right here, but price just didn't give you a good confirmation to get into buys. I just didn't trust buys. As you can see, gold pretty much chopped the whole in session on up until about 12:45. That's when price really started giving some decent setups. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I could even got in right here. Price boom gave me a morning star, gave me a gap. It broke structure, came back to retest where it broke. It was a minor retest, and then boom, push to the upside. It even gave me a demand zone right here, minor break, retest, took it again. So yeah, the better trades did happen after midnight on gold on this day, you guys. So yeah, we took a $97 loss. Gonna put my P&L right here, and yeah, if I'm not mistaken, on this day it was like $355 we lost, you guys. Took two L's during London and took a L during Asian session. So this was my greatest loss in a day since I started trading. Well, since I went live back in April of last year, you guys. So this was one of my biggest losing days I didn't had thus far. So yeah, you guys, this was gold. The last trade I took was on the 20th of this week, and it was on S&P, but it wasn't S&P micros. It was S&P minis. I have been back testing minis for a very long time. So I did want to see how the minis played out with a break and retest. So yeah, let me go to that real quick, you guys. On the 20th, and let's go. Okay. So let me go to, this is my 1 minute. All right. So okay. So yeah, coming into the session, you guys, I marked up my zone. I noticed price giving me some push to the upside. I was like, all right, so it's looking like we may be pushing to the upside. But then the price dropped and just started selling, 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 selling. You guys, and this was a red folder, if I'm not mistaken. Friday we had a 7:30 red folder, which is 8:30 New York, 7:30 my time. So we had a 7:30 red folder, and price just push, 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 push. It gave me my London low, and then it started to retrace back up. And at that New York open, price just consolidated just briefly, and then started to sell again. So I thought maybe that the bias was changing, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna necessarily be looking for a break and retest to the downside, especially when price took out that London low. It took out that London low, and then if I'm not mistaken, I think this was a New York low right here. This second blue line is a New York low from yesterday, and at that at like a little bit before 8:30, like 8:21, 9:21, price barely tapped the New York zone. It did not invalidate it. It just barely tapped it. So price went up, came back down, gave me a demand zone, and once I got that retest, once price broke, I entered. My mistake with this trade was I was impatient. I didn't wait for price. First of all, I took the trade right at 8:30, 9:30. I didn't wait for price to give me that confirmation that it wanted to invalidate New York, because it just gave me a minor tap, and then it came down at 9:30 and pushed to my New York low, took that out, and I was knocked out of the trade immediately. Like as soon as I entered the trade, 2 seconds later, I was stopped out of the trade. So, and this was a loss just from impatience. You know, I didn't wait for price to take that New York. It already showed me it wanted to. I just needed to wait. You get what I'm saying? I just wait to see if it wanted to take out that New York low instead of me entering right at 9:30. You guys, like, yeah, I was just upset that I did that. That was a $200 loss. Put my P&L right here real quick of this trade right here. 204 after fees. So I was going to be done. On Fridays, you guys, y'all know I only trade one trade on Fridays. One trade. That's it. Win or lose, walk away. It could be the fact that, hey, this week has been a red week for me. And last week was a little bit of a red week for me. You know, so it was just hard for me to really, I'm not going to say accept this L, but walk away after this L. Because it's just like, this was on me, but it didn't have to happen if I was just patient. So I couldn't accept the fact that I was impatient and caused myself an L. So once I seen this morning star, I said if price breaks my bullish candle, which was like this was letting me know that the buys were good, which was the trade I lost on, which was the buy. Once price broke that candle, I entered, risking the same amount. Um, $200 for 600, which is 16 ticks for 48 ticks. And I believe I ended up hitting TP in like 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. So this trade ended up playing out. I ended up making $600 after fees, 996 after covering that $204 loss. I think I ended up walking away with like 392 in profit for the day to cover that loss. So I'm gonna put my P&L right here. So actually, this trade took out all of my losses from the 19th, from both New York session and from Asian session. It knocked out those losses, and then the $84 that I won on, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was the 18th. Yeah, on the 18th, that $84 that I ended up winning on the 18th, mixed with probably about 40 something dollars from the 300. I ended up taking out a little bit of the loss that I had took on Tuesday. So instead of ending the week with about $600 loss, I end up ending the week with like $124 loss, you guys. So we definitely cut out some losses with this trade, but I'm not happy about this trade because if I would have followed my rules, I would have been down $800 for the week because I had lost 600 previously, and then I took this L of 200, which brought my loss for the week to 800. If I would have followed my rules and walked away, win or lose, even though it was a simple mistake, win or lose, I would have never taken this trade, and I would have been ending the week $800 in a loss. But I didn't want to accept that, and I ended up hopping back into the trade. And yeah, so I ended up making money and taking out some losses, but it was due to me breaking rules. And one of my homeboys, he said, well, sometimes it's okay to, tailor your rules a little bit, especially when certain market conditions, play out and different things like that. And, the price action for this week has been kind of hit and miss. You get what I'm saying? So he was basically trying to make me feel better about the situation, which I get it. Sometimes you got to break your rules, but it was also the fact when I went into this trade, I did not have a stop loss. I didn't have a stop loss. So if I had a stop loss, y'all, I would have actually lost this trade because it ended up going like $200 into drawdown, like 200 and something dollars into drawdown. So if I would have had my stop loss set, I would have lost this trade again, and then it would have been $1,000 loss for the week. But because I didn't set my stop loss until after price stayed above $250, then I added my stop loss and put my stop loss at break even, and then just trailed my stop loss after that. So technically, I would have lost this trade if I would have had my stop loss set, but I didn't. So what if price would have never pushed up? Like, what if price would have just kept dropping, 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 and then boom, account is blown because I wanted to do some stupid stuff like take multiple trades on the day I said I wouldn't and enter without a stop loss. And you're doing this on minis. Like, you're insane. You got to get it together. You got to get it together. You got to get it together. So, yeah, even though we made money back, I did not like the fact that I broke some rules to make money. And I did not feel good about this win. And some people just think trading is about making money, but it's not about making money. It's about what type of trader you want to be. And I don't want to be a trader that breaks rules to make money. You get what I'm saying? I don't want to, put in my psyche that, oh, that one time I did it, so then that means I can do it the next time. No, not necessarily. That's not how it works. So, yeah, you guys, as you can see, yeah, we took some L's these last 2 weeks. We definitely did. But hey, I was able to catch this banger even though it broke some rules. So I was able to make back a lot of my losses that I accumulated. So I'm proud of that. I am going to put my P&L calendar so y'all can just see that, what we're working with. I am down for the month. Think about 200 and something dollars for the month. but I'm only down about 100 and something for the week, and that is a combination of me trading two accounts. So it's not just 200 for the month on one account, it's 200 for the month on two accounts. So probably about 100 and something loss on both accounts over for this month, you guys. So yeah, these are my trades. As you can see, we took a lot of trades, a lot more than normal. I think this week I took 8 trades. Last month I took 8 trades in the whole month altogether. So yeah, I definitely traded a lot more than I'm used to trading, but also too, I'm really just trying to up my risk. And when I say up my risk, I'm not trying to risk more, but I'm definitely trying to look for better quality setups. And I'm also trying to break the habit of not being able to catch a winning trade after I take a loss. So if that means I take 2 losses, then hey, cool. But when I first started trading, a lot of my losses was losses because I was too scared to find another setup. Even though when I found the setup and it played out, I'm like, dang, I could have made my money back. But I was too scared. I was trying to follow my rules. And in the beginning, that's cool. But I'm a year in. So it's like now it's like you know how not to lose, meaning like I know how not to blow accounts. I know how not to over leverage. Now it's time to win. It's time to, okay, yeah, I took that loss. Let me see if I can find another quality setup. So yeah, you guys, these was my trades for the last 2 weeks. I hope y'all last 2 weeks of trading has been amazing. I hope y'all was able to make some money. Hope y'all was able to pass some accounts, get those payouts. But if you wasn't, you already know what you got to do. We got to realign, reset, refocus, and be better for the next trading week ahead. We still got one more week left in February, which that's 5 days that can change someone's life. So let's continue to go in. Let's continue to show up, and let's get this bag. So yeah, I'm not gonna take up too much of y'all time. I'm gonna let y'all go and enjoy y'all weekend. Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all for taking the time to sit out with me and listen to me go on about these trades. This is one of my longest videos, so I hope y'all enjoy. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I love y'all, thank y'all, and your girl GC the Trader is out.